Hi and welcome back to Liz Handcrafted. If you're new here, cool. I do weird stuff that's all over the planet. It's all about creativity. So what I realized here, I just went out to run some errands, and I had this idea in my mind that I wanted to make some dishcloths for my shop. I like homemade dishcloths. I don't really care for buying the manufactured ones because they don't last and they end up being basically disposable. But when I got home, I realized that I basically created myself a comparison. So what I have here is, it turns out that Dollar Tree carries cotton yarn, and I went over to Hobby Lobby and picked up one like this and one of these. Now, like I said, I think I created myself a comparison. What I've realized is that the Dollar Tree cotton is actually recycled. Could make a difference. Hobby Lobby is not recycled. And the reason why I did both of these is because the pattern that I want to try to use is a little bit different. I haven't done it before. And I'm wondering if it's using enough yarn per row to make this kind of variegated cake usable. Hence buying this one. So I'm going to make a dishcloth out of all three of these and see where we're at. See if there's a texture difference. Obviously it does. I mean, you're not going to know whether it's a usability difference, except that I can already tell you these two are far more similar. This is more of a scarf, a wearable type cotton. Still 100% cotton. Now I also can tell you that this one, the Dollar Tree version, it tells you what it is and where it's from, but not how to use it. For instance, specifically, it doesn't have this kind of a chart on it. So, given that aspect, because these are virtually the same weight, this one has definitely a tighter, I won't say tighter, smoother plying to it. The spin looks a tad bit tighter. A tad. Because if you look at, now that I actually do spinning, I actually know what that looks like now. Kind of odd. It's kind of odd for me anyway. And it's a 3-ply. There's their 4. 4-ply. All I'm doing is unwinding this a smidge and getting, it's a 4-ply. What is this one? What does it tell me it is? I'm sure it says it somewhere. Maybe I'm just not, my vision isn't hard. Okay, that's fine. We'll do it the other way. 4-ply as well. This one is a 3-ply. Interesting. So, but this is a softy kind of scarf. You fit something against your skin kind of thing. Which tells me this might turn out to be like a washcloth versus maybe a dishcloth. Maybe. Now I also have in my collection of madness, I've got, here, see if it follows me over this direction. It does. I've also got some other variegated, that I had other intentions for. Of course, whether I get to them or not ever. So I've got that one. It's the same thing, which I don't know why I bought another one. But one of the things that I do have over here is some scrunchy type yarn that literally is made for scrunchy. Not scrunchy, scrubby words. not always so much. So scrubby style. Okay, either way. Hopefully I caught that. Maybe not. So I'm going to make up some dishcloths. It'll be a new pattern to me. It's something I just saw on a reel or a YouTube video, not sure which, and see what we have. I'll use the information off of this to figure out this one, and of course this. Hopefully it'll be the same, to be honest. 4.5 using, so this one is a 7. No, it's a 4.5. 4.5 millimeter hook. This one's a 4.5, so we're across the board on 4.5. And I'm gonna start this up and see if I can stand that pattern. It looked like it had enough texture to it to do its job, but not so much that it's a pain. I don't know. Anyway, I'm gonna whip up a little bit, and I'm gonna start with this one, see where I'm at, see if I like the pattern, because one thing you're gonna learn about me is if I don't like doing something, I'm not gonna continue doing it like that. These things need to be enjoyable. So anyway, we will catch you in a little bit. All right, so 1 dishcloth. Let's see here. Let's look at the measurements on this, just for the sake of doing it. How's that sound? So, I guess it depends on how you stretch it. 6.5 inches. Square. 6.5 inches. Not a bad feel. I don't know if you can really see the texture on that. So you definitely have a nice, it's not rough like a scrubby. It's a cloth. It's got a good hole factor. I haven't weaved in the ends on this, but I wanted to see how this was going to turn out. I can say, and I haven't worked this one up yet, which is very, very similar to the look and feel of this. Well, you know, to be honest, no, it's not. This is actually softer. And we'll see. This one wanted to split a lot. I'm using a, these are baits. I want to say baits. Clover. It's the one that came with the set. It actually came with these sets. I'm not sure what they're. Anyway, so these are the ones that came with the set. My favorite crochet hooks, by the way, I don't know, I have to see if they're in here, are and I might use it on the next one, although it may give an unfair advantage, to be honest. I have projects that I haven't finished. Big surprise, right? Oh, yes. I don't have a 4.5 in the baits. So that tells me this is probably buoyed. These are probably buoyed. They have this smoother hook, whereas I personally really like the more cut hook. I don't know if you can, but Susan Bates style. But because, I mean, I'd have to go a 4, because I don't think I have a 4.5 in a Susan Bates. There is my 5.5. I don't know that I have a 4.5. Shall I run it with a 5.0 on this next one? I might. I kind of, same number of stitches. This could be a little looser and not be bad at all. A smidge looser, and that would be created by the 1 point higher, the half a point higher. Alright, so I'm going to do this one. I need to pull a center line on it. So I tried that little trick that they've been showing, you know, the poundy thingy, and then pull in the center, and it does more or less work, at least on this. So I think I did. So the video I was using to reference for this, because she did a good job. I don't know much about her. I hadn't followed much of it. I just looked up the dishcloth, and I knew it because it was. She said it was 29, chain 29, and then it's a double, half double slip, basically like that, and then back and forth till your square, basically. And this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 rows. So I think this one, want to say it was 26 stitches, not 29. I could count them and find out, huh? I might do that. Alright, so I'm going to work up this one and see what the feel is. Okay? Hey, just real quick. I figured it out, 25 stitches. So, 25 stitches. And I'll meet you back here in a little bit. See how this one turns. I can already tell you, though, I like the changing of the color quickly. The feeling that I don't know that I'm going to use enough of this fast enough to have a ombre effect. I have a feeling that colors are too far apart for that. But I don't know that yet. So, we'll see ya. Alright, we're back again with dishcloth number 2. Now this one, clearly I don't crochet as much as I used to. This one turned out, nice and square because I was paying attention to my edges because I was paying attention because I wasn't being complacent. This one, well, not so much. It's a little wonky on the edges, but that doesn't change our test. First of all, texture-wise, this one's smoother. This one's got more of a textured feel. Our stitches, let's see if I can get this or not. Our stitches, they're a smidge tighter. Maybe it's an optical illusion, but yeah, they have to be because even the pull on it, because that's the difference between this hook being the Susan Bates 5, and this hook is the Boyd 4.5. 4.5, yeah. Actually, it's 5.5. I thought I had a 5. Silly me. I really should have jumped. I thought I was jumping to a 5, but I jumped to a 5.5. Okay, fine. The next one will be a 5. Anyway, so yeah, that definitely we kind of already know that when it's a bigger hook, you're gonna have a bigger stitch. Duh, right? It depends on what you're looking for, I guess, in your end product. This one has a nice feel. This one just feels more solid. But they both work. I did notice that as I was working with this, it took me a little less time, whether that was because of lack of splitting or whether I was just getting used to the stitches going back and forth. I don't know which. I didn't seem to feel like I was having so much splitting with this one, whereas this one was more noticeable. So, the next stop, I'm going to try this one, which just blows me away that there's a huge difference between the feel. This is much softer, and it's still supposedly the same kind of yarn. It's 100% cotton. I don't know. I mean, I can't really call myself a spinner because I've done so little of it. But how would that? I mean, it's almost like there's a mix of acrylic in this, but I don't know that for sure. I'm gonna have to say that this might become something more of a instead of a dishcloth which is used for scrubbing, it's going to most likely be more like a washcloth type scenario. I'm just working this just a smidge to see how it flows. It's not showing up as a splitter, because I'll tell you what, this one already did just as I was doing this. I really should stop talking and actually count, because I'll mess that up royally. With this pattern, you definitely have to run loose. Silly me trying to count and talk. Yeah, right. 24. Good old 24. Alright, this one's so much smoother. There's like no friction. And I'm not entirely sure that's a good thing. Like I said, it's the cloth aspect, so the slickness of it isn't actually doing me any favors on this start. Don't love that. I'm having to really pay more attention to where I'm at. Like I said, it's supposed to be 100% cotton, which is the same as the other one, which doesn't. That baffles me, as you know, how. So is the spin that much different, that the result is that much different, or is cotton different? Or I might have to ask my fellow spinners. I am part of a guild, and it would be an interesting question to ask. How do you result from the same foundation ingredient, the same fiber, with such different textures? I mean, I get that, like, for instance, when sheep are, when the fleece of the sheep is spun, each one usually ends up being different. And that would be because, just like our hair, we all have different hair textures. But a cotton plant? Does that same rule apply? I don't know. I know that, like, for instance, when you get the same brand of yarn, like an alpaca or an Icelandic or something like that, typically they're very consistent in how they work, but they're also coming off of the same flock. I would imagine the nutritional needs are different on different types of the year and such. I know they are in my animals. They're different. Okay, I really probably need to pay more attention to what I'm doing, because I just did a double stitch where I shouldn't. Anywho, but yeah, this reminds me a whole lot of the old Joann's brand rayon, the slicker rayon, and it's supposedly 100% cotton. So what does that make it? Does it not make it a scrubby opportunity? Is it a facial cloth entirely? Now, granted, I'm not one to speak on that stuff. I tend to exfoliate with every cloth. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. So I'm gonna do up this, and I'll be back. The intention of this was the dishcloth. These two, which are the Dollar Tree version of the cotton yarn and the Hobby Lobby version of the cotton yarn, are just fine for dishcloth. I thought that the sugar wheel cotton was like the peaches and cream type thing. It's not. So here's my thoughts. These are fine dishcloth. They have just enough abrasion, but it's soft enough. Nice dishcloth. But this is, I compare it more to like the Caron Simply Soft, which is an acrylic, by the way. This is a 4-weight though, so I'm talking about labeling, the feel of working with it. That's what this one that reminds me is, the Caron Simply Soft. The Hobby Lobby version of that would be the Soft Secret, and that has that same, but both of these are acrylic. So I'm still kind of baffled on that. Just giving you guys a side by side. This would make, I wouldn't call it a dishcloth. Face cloth, maybe. It is a nice cotton. There's nothing wrong with that. There's no abrasion, which makes it for a nice garment one. So my suggestion with using these, especially seeing how the caking and the changing of the colors is quite a ways. I used to make, I'll probably make one again sooner or later, these hexacardigans. It's really hot and I'm not putting it on. But the hexacardigan, which is the hexagon with, you make the two hexagons and you sew them together. That, a nice light hexacardigan would be gorgeous with this kind of yarn. And the draping is nice. But as a garment yarn, I agree, this would be a beautiful garment yarn with something that wants to change colors. You know, you would work through one, start off with a brand new. Of course, it'd probably take, I want to say there's 8 skeins of yarn in that one. So, you gotta, figure out where you're at with stuff. But this is a garment or a soft cloth. I do like the lightness of this stitch with it. I would probably look up some other stitch so it could be a little bit more mindless to me. Because this one I actually had to pay a smidgen of attention. But either way, what I've concluded is this does not a dishcloth make. However, a facial cloth or something, sure, it is cotton, why not? But will the cotton from Dollar Tree work? I see no reason why it won't. It's just fine. With a bigger needle, that would be a little bit soft, a little bit more of a open feel. This was nice. Yes, I know it's crooked. I'm well aware, but this will be mine apparently. And then I have enough probably to make one more. So off of these, then I've got, which is again another of Hobby Lobby ones, and I'll probably mess with this for a little bit. I think I'm thinking, here's my thoughts. Sometimes I need something that I can just go watch something and make, because I don't want to have time that I'm not using. There's nothing wrong with downtime, but you can pretty much usually crochet or knit if you're not having to count everything in those times. Also, another brand of cotton that I probably could throw this into the mix for figure out how it falls, because it still baffles me how can cotton have so many different ways of laying out. I just don't know. So that's about the same feel. So I love this cotton, and the sugar wheel, I'm gonna guess, are processed. I mean, the dyes would be different, obviously. The dye processing would be different because this is going to be more speckled. But this would make a really cute cloth. I'll call it cloth because they're not dish rags. It's more like wash rag kind of thing. Because this has got a nice soft feel to it. It's about the same. Anyway, that's my thoughts on these. I'll categorize over here. These work just fine for dishcloths. I'll probably make a bunch of that. And, even the scrubby here, just a second. Okay, so just for the sake of knowledge, this stuff that's very abrasive, the whole point of it is abrasiveness, is also cotton. This stuff is what you use for making scrubbies. In fact, a lot of people just do them out of this, and it's a scrubber. I mix this with cotton a lot of times and to use for like a shower washcloth, because I like a little bit more abrasion. Only because I'm on a farm, I get dirty. It's not just sweat, it's dirt, and I need a little bit more abrasion to it. But I also do these by themselves. These make for great cleaning cast iron. You need a little bit of abrasion. I like to make a round version, just a double crochet round version like this, and give those as gifts and stuff. I might even do some of those. I just need some small stuff that I can use when I'm traveling. I should say make when I'm traveling, which was my idea with the dishcloths. Anyway, don't need to make this forever by rambling. But anyway, so just giving you guys some ideas of the different kinds of cotton available that you can do things with. Back to the keeping things renewable. Hi! This is the future me after doing some of the editing on this crochet video. Actually, I should say yarn comparison video. It ended up being crochet, by the way. But what I realized is I never shared with you why I was even doing the shopping for the cotton yarn. Well, this is what has happened is I'm going to be doing a market here, actually November 1st, so it depends on when you watch this video. But the intention is I needed some like stocking stuffer level type items that, and I also like to do stuff like when for instance, I take my dogs downstairs so they can eat in the evening, and I need something to do while I'm there, while I'm waiting for them to eat, because they don't seem to want to eat on their own. We don't feed them in our kitchen like normal people do, because apparently we're not normal people. Anyway, so I'm going to a market. Anyway, this is the kind of stuff that I was trying to do. This is literally what I'm making, is the things for the market, is the dishcloths. What do you think, guys? By the way, this is my new studio. This is my new workplace, my new office. What do you think? You like it? It's not. And don't think that I don't have a mess, because you just can't see the rest of it. At least not yet. You'll see more of it anyway, because that's how this stuff works. Yes. So anyway, that is why I'm doing the dishcloths in the first place. This is part of Liz Handcrafted. The other part of the business, other than YouTube, is I'm going to be selling some of the things that I choose that I can repeat. I think I've shared with you already that some things I just simply won't be repeating, because I'm not going to repeat something I don't like doing. Okay? Without further ado, I'm going to show you how I made these dishcloths, and actually show you what the pattern ended up being like. Spoiler alert, it didn't end up being what I said it was. And apparently I changed my mind someplace in the midst of things. Oh, big surprise, right? Anyway, here's to that. This is what I'm doing for the dishcloths. Funny enough, as I was doing the edits, I realized that I hadn't been doing that pattern that I stated in that thing for some time. I think I must have changed it as I would sit down to do the thing, and I never went back. And so I'm going to tell you what I am doing versus what I was supposed to be doing. Okay, so it's basically a chain 24, okay? And then on your starting row, you're just going to do everything is half double crochets. So you're just going to go in just like you were doing a double crochet, but instead of looping in twice, just loop in through all three, okay? Literally through the entire dishcloth. We're not doing half doubles and a single. I literally was doing just all half doubles. I'm hoping you can see that. But I wanted to show you how I was making them, just in case anybody felt like that was something they wanted to do, or they really liked it, and because really all it is a block. And then I fold corner to corner to make sure that it's square. You don't even have to make them square, it doesn't matter. What I mean by that, corner to corner. So hopefully I've got it within frame. This is a little harder to do this way. Corner to corner to make sure everything is square. That's it. So I'm going to go through and do this. By the way, doing this kind of catching something like this where you could see the point of view as well as filming it and talking is not the easiest thing in the world. I mean, I'm not going to show you a picture of what I look like right now to do it either. Maybe some other time. Well, needless to say, I'm using a bit mount. In other words, my camera grip is in my teeth. You could probably hear my voice that way. So, okay. So the second row is the part that I want to show you. We're almost there. And hopefully I'm catching the frame, which I don't actually know that I am. Trying to get it there. I can't even imagine people that do full tutorials like this. Eek. I think most of them do an overhead shot, though. Actually, there we go. So once you do that, then you're going to stitch 1. Sometimes I'll stitch 2 depending on how the thread's rolling. So basically, I'm going to stitch 2. I forgot. I have it stitching 2. Okay, because it's a half double. So, and then I'm going to bring it on 1, and all I'm literally doing is going into the first stitch and doing the same stitch that I've been doing the last 25 times. So, there you go. This is all my pattern is for dishcloths, y'all. It's just time consuming. Thankfully, it's not brain consuming as well. Okay? So nobody can say, well, show us how it's done. I am. You hit this until you square it up or make the size you want. And you weave in your ends. Because this is a dishcloth and it will get wet and get washed a lot, I do glue them in a little bit. Not a lot. Because once it's wet and has been washed a bunch, it will sort of felt. This is cotton, so it doesn't felt the same way, but it does definitely kind of mingle into the fibers more. But anyway, so that is all it is. Nobody can say I haven't showed you. But anyway, I'm going to show you one other thing real quick. I'm making these ones. I've made a whole bunch of other ones in different colors. I'll show you that later on. But I have 2 more colors that I want to mess with. And that's this really pretty blue. And then I've got a really colorful one. Check that out. What do you think? Cool? Anyway, so we'll see some of those here. Won't be in this video made up because, 1, I have to get it out, and I probably won't get to that. So you'll probably see it in some market aspects of it. Anyway, there you have it. That's how I'm doing it. And you just keep on repeating your rows of half double. Keep repeating your rows of half double crochets into each stitch, and you have a nice, dense, slightly abrasive dishcloth. You'll make it whatever size you want. Anyway, there you go. Alright, seeing how I was being mean, I think. So I decided to go ahead and work up the blue a little bit. And we'll just look what it looks like. So I also realized that I was out of frame on pretty much the entire thing that I just filmed. Exception of the last bit. So I have chained 26. Okay? So there's 26. And then I literally just go back to the number. No, take that back. X-nay that is 24. It's 24, my friends. So I chain 24. Then basically I just go back 2 on the first row because the 2 stitches counts as the double stitch I showed you earlier. So all I'm doing is the half doubles in each stitch, just like I was earlier, except for the first row is kind of funky because you're going into a chain, so don't chain them too tight. Now every thread is going to act a little bit differently, of course. This one is grippy, by the way. The blue is got a different texture to it than the other one did, or several of the other ones did for that matter. So like, for instance, let's see if I can do this without messing my camera angle up too badly. So this one, what I was working on earlier and decided to show you, it's softer, smoother. The blue is got more of a grip to it. It's just got a heavier texture to it. Not that that matters, but I do find it interesting because I'm starting to learn in the world of dyes and how it changes the texture or the fibers. And it's just interesting. So check this out though. It's coming around to changing colors. These are going to be really pretty. So I'm going to stitch this one up, and I might because this is crochet versus knitting. The reason why I say that is because, I mean, it's nothing to jump needles over to a different project for a second. Whereas when you're knitting, it's a lot harder to do that. Unless you got a whole slew of needles that are duplicates. I know a lot of people that do, but I don't have that many of a common size like that. Honestly, I don't hand knit that much. I do it occasionally, but I usually machine knit. So, you're seeing what I'm doing. Again, it's just the half doubles, which is nothing different than the double, minus you go through all three of them, versus yarning over again. Okay? And I'll show you a little bit more here in a few minutes, okay? Hey there, so I thought I'd pop back on here real quick and show you this. So here's the blue that I was working with. Turning out really pretty. I like that one. Let's see if I can get that out of there. I like that blue. But look at this. I have a feeling I'm going to be using some of this. So just a chunk of it. It doesn't have this weird texture that the blue does. I like this. I really like using that yarn. Let me see what this one is real quick. It's the Crafter's Secret. This is Hobby Lobby brand. The name, I can't read it through the camera, can you? Rainbow Bridge. Well, that would make sense. So, that one is Rainbow Bridge. I like it. I'm going to be messing with that more often. Alright, so I just wanted to give you a couple of chunks of those instead of being mean and saying you can see them later. Alright, back again, and I wanted to let you know, just in case you are in the Southern Maryland area or North Virginia, don't forget to go, actually anybody, don't forget to go support your small businesses with the craft fairs that are in the area. A lot of times they do this stuff heavily during the holiday time frame because people like, handmade Christmas presents and such things like that. And that's what this is all about, is this whole endeavor, that the whole things that you're going to be seeing is about me making things for the market. Some stuff is going to be sold on my website, which will be live shortly. And especially the bags. The bags is a huge part, which is so these bags, for instance, are actually the matching sets for other bags that I'm making, which is very similar to this. And I'm going to be showing you some of the things about the ins and outs of prepping for a market. That'll probably end up being my next video, actually. So anyway, that's what's up. So come and join us if you happen to be in the Southern Maryland area at the 10th District Fire Department Craft Fair. That's on November 1st. So come and check it out. Anywho, make sure you go out and create something, okay?